In this tutorial, I will walk through all the steps to set a file up for print. If you want to see how I designed this poster, check out the link in the description to see part 1 of this video. So we are going to start with this 11 by 17 poster that I designed in InDesign. We're going to walk through a checklist of prepping this file for print. Check out the link in the description to download a free checklist. Step 1, it's always a good idea to double check your file size before you send anything to print, especially if you have bleeds, folds, or anything complicated in your design. So to check the file size, you can go to File, Document Setup, and this shows me here that the file size is correct. It's 11 inches wide by 17 inches high. If for some reason this was incorrect, you'd want to adjust your file size here and adjust your design. Next, let's talk about bleed in a file. Bleed is when you have artwork that goes to the very edge of your design. You have to have that artwork go over your cut line so you don't get white marks around the edges when it gets cut at the printer. We need to set bleed up on this document. I don't have any bleed currently. So you can go back to File, Document Setup. Down here you can see bleed and slug. So click to expand that. And I like to add a 1/4 inch bleed to my designs. There's this link that's activated, so it will make bleed around the whole document. And you can also, if you have your guides showing, you can also preview your bleed marks. So there they are. Let's click OK. So now we need to zoom into our file and extend our artwork out to our bleed line. So this is actually an image in the background. It's an image of some water. So I'm just going to take the edges of that image and extend it to our bleed line. And over here, this is the edge of the image. So I need to adjust this and move it over just a little bit. So that image is now touching our bleed line. This down here is a gradient. So I'm just going to extend our gradient so it also touches the bleed line. So now we have a 1/4 inch bleed that is going off the edge of our paper. Next step, anything that you are printing or sending to a printer needs to be set up in CMYK color profile. That stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So I have an image here and an image here. I'll need to convert both of those files to CMYK in Photoshop. And then I have some colors here too. I have a gradient here that has 3 colors in it, yellow, orange, and pink. This also has 3 colors. And then I have some colored text here. So let's start internally on this document first and just go to our color swatches and look at those and make sure they're converted correctly. So let's go to Window, Color, Swatches. Let's first start with this text right here. This text is a color. I'm going to select this text so I can see which swatch is here. So it is this swatch right here, and it is set up as RGB. So if I double click this color swatch, it will show me that the color mode for this color swatch is currently RGB, and you can simply switch it to CMYK here. So on this drop-down menu, I'm going to click CMYK and click OK. And that converted my color swatch to CMYK. Next, I have this gradient in my file, and this gradient consists of 3 colors. It has this pink right here, which is the CMYK color, this yellow, which is CMYK, and it has this orange, which is an RGB color. So I need to convert this RGB swatch to CMYK. I'm going to double click it and do the same thing. Instead of RGB, I'm going to select CMYK, and now all the colors in my swatches are currently CMYK. One last step in the swatches panel, I like to clean up the swatches panel and get rid of any swatches that I'm not using in this design. So in the swatches panel, you can click on the hamburger menu and say, select all unused. That is going to select all the colors that you're not using in your document. This just cleans up your file a little bit and lessens confusion at the printer. So you can delete those swatches that are selected by clicking the delete. Now that we've converted our colors in the document to CMYK, we next need to address our images. Our images need to be CMYK as well, and they must be 300 dots per inch in your file in InDesign. Go to Window, Links. This will show you a list of all the images in your document. I have 2 photographs, and then I have an EPS file. So let's go through each of these. I'm going to click on this first one. This is the textural image behind my type here. Turn my guides off. When I click on this image in the links panel, I can see some additional link info at the bottom here. I can see that this image is set up in RGB color space. The actual dots per inch is only 72 dpi. So this image needs to be adjusted. Let's look at our next image. It is also RGB, 72 dpi. And then this last image is an EPS file, which is a vector file format. This is my logo file down here, and it's white. So that means it's going to print the color of the paper. So there's not actually any ink that's coming into this logo file. So I don't really need to set this file up for print. If there were colors in this file, I would need to right-click and open this up in Adobe Illustrator to convert the vector image colors in Adobe Illustrator. Let's go ahead and open each of these files up in Photoshop to convert them to 300 dots per inch and CMYK. So I'm going to start with this first one. You can right click it in the links panel and say edit with and select Photoshop. Let's first convert this to CMYK. So go to image, mode, it's listed as RGB, we want CMYK. So now you can see in the tab up here, it now says CMYK. It said RGB before. Okay, next step, go to image, image size, and you get this image size dialog box that pops up. And over here on the right, you can see some information about your file. The resolution is currently listed at 72 pixels per inch. I need to convert this to 300 so it prints at high quality in my poster. So click OK. And I'm just gonna now save this file. Go to File, Save. You might get a little dialog box that pops up. Just make sure your quality is listed at maximum all the way on the scale and click OK. So go back to InDesign, right click the second file, say edit with Photoshop. Let's do the same thing. Go to image, mode, convert to CMYK, and then image, image size, type in 300 here. You never want to resample your images when you're prepping something for print. That will essentially upscale it and reduce the quality of your image. So click OK. And now let's save this file. Let's now go back to InDesign. We can go back to our links panel. When I saved those files, it reconnected them in this document and saved the new updated files. So if I now click on each of these images here, I see that it is now CMYK image at 300 pixels per inch. So that one is good to go. The next one is also listed at CMYK at 300 pixels per inch. And one more thing that I need to do just to double check that these images are high enough quality to print at the size that I have designed, I need to click on each of these images and check the proportions. When you hover over your image, click on the little circle, or you can also use the white arrow in your file. So you can see I've actually selected my image here, and you can see the proportions of your image up top. You never want this number to go above 100. And I can see currently in my file, this image, I have scaled it up too high. So it's currently at 147% of its size that it should print well at. So this is a problem. I would either need to resize this image in my design, or you can take it into Photoshop and upscale it a little bit. You really want to be careful doing that because you're going to lose image quality each time you upscale an image. I do have a video about upscaling art that you can check out on my channel. For this tutorial, I'm just going to keep moving on. If for some reason you get some errors or issues in your links panel, that must mean that you have a link problem. So you need to select that link, probably need to relink it and make sure you're linking to the updated file that is prepped for print. I also have a video that goes through how to relink images in InDesign, so check that out if you need to. The next steps when you're prepping in file for print, you always want to make sure you do a spell check. So you can go to Edit, Spelling, Check Spelling, and it will check all the spelling in your document to make sure you don't have any errors. Artboard. Oftentimes when you design, you might have an image over here and a graphic over here that's off the artboard. You want to make sure that there are no extra graphics or images in your file. I also like to zoom way in and just double check my spacing on everything. I really wanted my typography to all be aligned on the left and right, so I can double check all of that. You want to look at the spacing between each of your elements. I sometimes even draw a box and measure everything. So I might make this box like a weird color and just go through and check the spacing between all of my elements. You are now ready to package your file. A package file puts all of the files for this project in one folder for you. And that is a really efficient way to send it to a printer. How do we package a file? Go to File, Package. This little pop-up is going to show you lots of information about your file. Right here in the summary, it will show you if you have any RGB images or colors. It'll show you if you have missing links, missing fonts. And if you do have any of those issues, you can go deeper into the menu items here to learn more about which fonts are missing, which images have issues, and you can exit this and go fix those issues before packaging it. So everything needs to be resolved before you package your file. So go to package. I'm going to click save again. So I'm just going to go ahead and put print in the file name. I like to check that I'm copying my fonts, copying my graphics, and this will give me a PDF file inside my folder as well. So click package. So now that my file is packaged, I'm going to navigate to it and just see what is in that folder. It should have gathered your fonts that were included in the document. It should have packaged all of your links into a links folder, and you should see at least an InDesign file. If you selected to see a PDF, you should have a PDF. And I also selected to add an IDML. This allows people with older versions of InDesign to open your file. I am going to double check my PDF. This looks correct to me. And in this case, I am not sending a print-ready PDF to the printer. I want the printer to use my InDesign file to actually print. This PDF is simply there for reference for the printer. So now that I'm finished packaging the file, everything looks like it's included. I'm going to compress and zip up this folder so I can upload it to my printer. On my Mac, I'm just going to right-click on the folder, say compress, and it will make a zip file with my packaged files inside of it. So this is the file I would actually send to the printer. So that is how you prep a file for print. If you'd like a checklist of all the things you need to consider when prepping a file for print, you can download my free resource by going to the link in the description below this video, and subscribe to Crye Studio for more InDesign tutorials and tips. Thanks so much.